Hi, folks. My name is Keith Simmons, and for 2.5 months last year, January, February, part of March, I was an ecumenical accompany in Palestine and Israel, in Christian churches in Palestine. Human rights observers were asked to be in attendance by Palestinian Christian churches after the Second Intifada in 2002. That Intifada was an outgrowth of a long campaign by Palestinians to try to hang on to some of their land, with Israel continuing to encroach on Palestinian lands long after the partition plan developed by the United Nations to try and find a safe place for Jewish people to go to after the Holocaust in World War II. The plan and the dream was that Jewish people could have a safe place and Palestinian people would find a way to live alongside of them. What happened, though, was violence and pushback on both sides, and Israel decided to embark upon a campaign of ethnic cleansing to eliminate all Palestinians from the territory. It's the only way that many Israelis felt that they could be safe, is if Palestinians were no longer around to fight for their land. And that's been very well developed in this book by Ilan Pappé, The Ethnic Cleansing of Palestine. A good read, horrible read, but a good one. To visit Palestine now, you have to go through a wall. Israel's constructed a wall all the way around and through Palestine, ostensibly to keep Israel safe, but actually to pressurize Palestinians who are within the wall and have no place to go. You can get in, but it's very hard to get out, especially if you're Palestinian. Living in the shadow of the walls, a physical presence, like there are gates and checkpoints everywhere within Palestine and certainly around the wall. And it's a mental oppression. It's a tactic of oppression to keep people reminded that they're hemmed in here. And it would be better maybe if they went somewhere else. This is the wall of Bethlehem, barbed wire around it so that you can't get close to it. Jesus Christ, icon of Jesus that I saw in Nablus, a city in Israel that I visited while going to Tulkarm. And Tulkarm, I visited throughout Palestine, homes that were demolished by the Israeli military, because you can't build a home in Palestine unless the Israelis say it's okay, and they don't say it's okay. And most of Palestine is the case. Also, you can build chemical factories in Palestine if the Israelis say it's okay, and if you're an Israeli company. About 20 of them have done that around Tulkarm. They couldn't do it in Israel because they don't meet environmental standards, so they moved them to Palestine. This chemical factory is right beside a Palestinian farm, which is sandwiched on the other side by a wall. That wall took a lot of land away from this farm. The farmers, Fayaz and Mona, are finding a way to continue on. One of the plans that Fayaz has is to not feed the system that's taking him down, and he says the system really is the world capitalist system. He doesn't buy seeds from Monsanto and doesn't buy power from the Israelis or water from the Israelis. He finds other ways to develop power. He saves seeds. He uses his neighbor's goat dung as fertilizer and methane composters to provide energy, and grows fish in ponds and uses that fish water to fertilize tomato crops. Everything he does is to try and find a way not to feed the system that's oppressing him. It's not the Israelis, Fayaz says, and that's remarkable because his farm's been destroyed twice by the Israelis, and he spent 2 years in prison under Israeli authority. But he says it's not them. They're just very good at it, he says. But it's the world capital system that's taking us all down, milking us like cows, he said, and we need to break that cycle. He says we should break the cycle by following the logic of nature and by supporting resistance. But resistance is farmers. Resistance is people who won't buy into this system. Resistance is people who won't take the traditional ways out of the system but find other ways. Now, so far, Palestinian resistance hasn't worked out very well for them, as you can see by these maps. They've lost most of their land, but they continue to resist in remarkable ways. They resist through prayer. This is the prayer, people coming to the wall to pray in Bethlehem, where we went with them every Friday. These are a Palestinian woman and a Jewish Israeli woman, both of whom have lost family in the conflict, who are part of a large group of Palestinians and Jewish Israeli people who come together to find ways to build relationship and understanding so that nobody else has to lose their families. Actively resist. This is a school in Bethlehem, the Hope Flower School. It used to have Jewish students and Muslim students and Christian students who were coming together to learn about peace building and understanding one another. Jewish students haven't been allowed to go since 2002, but Christians and Muslims still go here and still learn about peace and practices of peace. And also they specialized in working with children who are autistic and working with them specifically to address their needs. This school's under a demolition order because the Israeli military, I think, doesn't want anything to exist that counters the narrative that Palestinians are all terrorists. Peace building counters that narrative. Raising children to be peacemakers counters that narrative. And so the Israeli military, seeing that as a threat, wants to destroy the building. But I don't think it'll destroy the hope and the resistance of the Palestinian people, because it doesn't just live in them. It lives also in Jewish people. These grandmothers from Maxim Watch were Jewish grandmothers who go down to checkpoints, demolitions and disruptions and protests and are present as observers and call their grandchildren who are in the Israeli military to account and say that we are greater than this. We were not here to be harsh and brutal and oppressive people. We're here to be people of the dream of equality and freedom and a new way of being in a way that we first heard the voice of God in Jerusalem thousands of years ago tell us that we could be. This is who we're meant to be, not who we become, but who we're meant to be. B'Tselem, a Jewish human rights organization based in Jerusalem, also sees Israel as a dream of incredible worth and value and a place where you can name your faults, recognize them, and move forward from them. So B'Tselem has said the system of the Israeli government has put in place is an apartheid system and it needs to be stopped by whatever means possible. B'Tselem suggests the world pay attention to how apartheid was ended in South Africa and learn lessons from that. One of the lessons being you can support Palestinians directly through groups like Zat by buying Palestinian products, buy products from Bethlehem, buy products from Hebron, buy products from the Jericho Valley, and don't buy products that are produced in Palestine by Israeli companies like those chemical plants. Be careful not to support the people who are doing the oppression, and also be very careful to try and offer support and care where you can. Donate to human rights organizations, purchase products from Palestine. Do what you can to bring hope, joy, and love to the world. And together we can do that. We can do anything. Thank you for listening, and I hope I haven't gone on too long. If you need more information, please feel free to contact me.